When fluidity is pouring through my life, I feel a little bit more passionate about the direction I am heading, about the choices that I am making. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Spiritually Fly. I'm your host and your guide, Faith Hunter. By listening or watching this podcast, you are taking steps to rebuild your life, learn ways to courageously live out your dreams, or maybe you're here to unlock your potential. You know why you are here. So let's drop into the power of self-healing and step into a place of self-care. Along the way, I'll provide you with science-based yet spiritually grounded practices that will enhance your life and elevate your soul. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Spiritually Fly. I am your host, your guide, Faith Hunter, and this is episode number 7. Today's episode is all about love. The question is, what is love? But at the end of the day, the real question is, do you have love of self? What is self-love? What is the difference between self-love and self-care? We're going to answer all of those questions. But before I do that, I want you to pause. So we're actually getting the practice in early because I want you to drop into the essence of self-love before we start having the conversation about it. So wherever you are, know that if you're driving, you can just keep listening. Know that you can always come back. But if you are standing in the kitchen cooking and you know that, you know what, I need this moment, I want you to turn the eyes down, place your pot to the side, put it on the warmer. If you're in the middle of folding clothes, stop. Basically, stop whatever you're doing right now. And I want you to take both hands and place them over the center of your chest. And if it feels comfortable, close your eyes and start to breathe deeply in and out of your nose. And as you do this in this moment, I want you to feel the rhythm of your heartbeat, that powerful vibration of your soul. And in this moment, actively, intentionally, even if it's like, oh my God, I can't do this, feel the sense of love move through you. And do this with this simple act of being grateful for who you are. And know that self-love is a feeling. Feeling the depths of your uniqueness. Loving all that you are physically, emotionally. Allowing the divine source of your spirit to pour over you in this moment with the pureness and knowing that you are this beautiful walking manifestation of love. Now take another deep breath in. Hold the breath for a few seconds, if that's possible, and then exhale out of your mouth, out of your nose, whatever feels good. And then say to yourself with feeling, I am madly in love with me. I love myself unconditionally. All right. So there we have it. I figured we should set the tone with something powerful. Actually, I figured we'd set the tone with actually our practice today. So wherever you are in the world, know that you can do that simple practice, especially in those moments when if you listened to or watched episode 6, where I talked about the negative thoughts and negative messages, that's another practice that you can do. This one is, it's just actively, intentionally pausing and breathing love into yourself, feeling your heart beat. Now, when you place your hands right over the center of your chest, that is called your anahata chakra, your heart chakra. If you don't know anything about chakras, I'll talk about that in another episode. But chakras are basically energy centers. We have thousands of chakras that move all over our body, but the primary ones are the seven that move from the base of the spine and go all the way up to the crown of the head. And the fourth one sits right at the chest. And when you want to tap into that sense of love, love of self, be grounded in the love of you, reconnect to the love of you, feel the pulsation of the love within you, you can always just simply place your hands over your heart, feel your heartbeat, breathe, and maybe it's one statement. Maybe it's giving yourself that opportunity to feel love move through you. And boom, you've reset your frequency. You've allowed yourself time to step into a higher vibration. Yeah. All right. Now that you're ready, let's talk a little bit about love. I mentioned earlier that self love is about loving yourself unconditionally, right? Self love and self care are very, very different. Extremely different. When you practice self care, you're actually taking time out so that you can kind of feel good in your skin, right? So, self care can be getting a massage, going for a walk, right? So, or moving your body, dancing. I know one of my self care practices is like getting my dance on, like all the time. Music comes on and I gotta dance. So that's an act of self-care. Now, an act of self-love is positive self-talk, reaffirming who I am, unapologetically loving myself, unapologetically loving all aspects of my being, accepting of who I am. And even within that, you can actually engage in acts of self love. So when I engage in an act of self love, again, that may be being conscious and intentional about the words that I'm speaking about me. Sometimes an act of self love is setting a boundary and sticking to it, committing to something, committing to an act and a feeling that is positively going to impact my overall health and well being. So, what is love? And that's kind of what I want to read today, because this concept of love, it's not just about loving somebody else, right? That's not what I want to talk about. As you know, we're talking about the self today. Because in order for you to love another, you have to have love of self. It's that same principle of like, my cup needs to be full. Like water, tea needs to be overflowing and on the saucer, and I'm going to give what's in the saucer. I'm not giving what's in my cup. I'm going to sip that and enjoy. But whatever spills over onto my saucer, that's what I'm going to extend and give to another. So I'm going to read a quick little passage from my book, and this is all about self-love. The section of my book, Spiritually Fly, this section is called What is Love? And I'm reading from page 25. And I love reading this passage. I've read this one before. I love reading this passage when I teach self-love practices, like self-love meditation practices, self-love yoga practices. And I've also read this passage doing intense self-love workshops, because it sets the tone It talks about this triangular connection of what love is. And even though it feels like it is connected to the love of others, it is very specifically connected to the love of self. So here we go. Here's the read. In the late 1980s, American psychologist Dr. Robert Steinberg developed a triangular theory around love. His theory is based on three major components, and I love these components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. And I want to say those again: intimacy, passion, and commitment. Now, as I continue to read, I want you to think about intimacy, passion, and commitment as it relates to self. Intimacy is based on the feelings of closeness, connectedness, and bondedness. Intimacy is based on the feelings of closeness, connectedness, and bondedness. Passion includes feelings of desire that focus on physical attraction, romance, and sexual consummation. I gotta read that again. Passion includes feelings of and desires that focus on physical attraction, romance, and sexual consummation. Commitment involves or revolves around feelings that lead you to remain with someone and move toward shared goals. I'm sharing this because I want you to think about your love relationships with others, but mostly I want you to contemplate your love relationship with yourself. So take a quick moment and think about your level of intimacy you have with yourself. Do you feel this sense of connectedness to you? Do you feel this element of closeness? For some reason, you're thinking in your mind, I don't, right? I want you to think about one way, one aspect that you can probably connect to yourself more deeply. Now, one way that I find that is really powerful for me to connect to myself deeply is by giving myself time to feel. Feel what is moving through my body in each second, each minute. And even if the feeling is uncomfortable, I am at least cultivating this sense of self-awareness, because that will provide me with the clues to move and step forward. If I want to shift the vibration, if I want to be in the juiciness of the feeling that I'm experiencing in that moment in time, but I am so in tune with myself. Now, I will say that deep meditation doesn't matter if you're doing seated meditation, you're lying on your back, you're doing walking meditation. Meditation will assist you in really tapping into the depths of your self, and it will refine your connection to you. It will heighten your sense of self-awareness, and that will build that connectedness, that closeness to self. Now, the next one I want you to think about is intimacy. Ooh, passion, not intimacy. We just did intimacy. I'm like, I love connection to myself. Passion. So the next thing we're going to talk about is passion. Your desire, the desires that focus on your physical attraction, your romance, and sexuality, right? So when you think about this as it relates to yourself, are you passionate about your life? Are you passionate and you have this deep desire to live out your dreams? Are you passionate about the way your body looks and feels, how you feel in your skin? Do you look at yourself in the mirror and go, damn, I am one sexy motherfucker? Like, really? Like, sometimes I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I look in the mirror and go, oh, girl. And that's when those negative messages start to creep through. And then there are other moments I look in the mirror and I'm like, hell yes. But also, I make a point of creating a little more passion in my life. When there are activities that make me feel sensual, right? I'm going to go back to the dancing thing. So I love dancing because it activates my second chakra, which is my sacral center, and that is connected to sensuality, sexuality, and creativity. When I am feeling this sense of passion for self, I am typically in that creative zone. I move my body, I get the dance on, I move my hips, I allow that second chakra energy to vibrate, and then that cultivates this element of sensuality, creativity, and that brings a little more fluidity in my life. And when fluidity is pouring through my life, I feel a little bit more passionate about the direction I am heading, about the choices that I am making. All right, so let's talk about the third one. The third one is commitment. Now, this is real deep. How committed are you to yourself? Do you make a commitment and fall back? Do you make a commitment and fall off? Or are you steadfast and strong in your commitments to self? And this is really where that act of self love starts to pour in, because in order to live authentically, really, truly, and unapologetically love yourself, you have to be committed to you, to the choices and the decisions that you are making in your life that is based on self love, and then shifting into providing a little more love, compassion, understanding, forgiveness that's left on your saucer for someone else. Committing to the things that bring you joy, committing to your spiritual practice, committing to your education, right? Like the things that bring about a higher state of being that gives you the ability to walk more strongly, more passionately, more steadfast in your existence, and you don't waver. Like even if you're in a relationship and it's not aligning with you, it's not aligning with your soul, maybe that's the moment where you have to pause and make another commitment to you and say, that's not sitting well with me. I'm going to have a conversation with my partner. And then if things don't shift, you make a commitment. If things don't shift, then I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, informing them with clear communication, but you've made a commitment to you. I want you to also think about where in your life can you improve your level of commitment. Just give that a moment to simmer. And then take another deep breath in, because we have 3 of those points, that triangular theory: intimacy, passion, and commitment. And when you get off this podcast, when you stop listening to this episode, I want you to just breathe into you, take a pen and paper, and actually write down 3 ways. Well, actually, 1 in each category. So there'll be 3 ways that you can move forward and practice an element of self-love when it comes to intimacy, passion, and commitment. And that's basically it. That's how I move and navigate love. That's how I cultivate more self-love. That's how I ensure I'm tapping into my strength and power that is rooted in love. And just as I shared in the previous episode, we know the unexpected will happen. We know that sometimes we will be sideswiped. We know that we will be kicked off of our self-love pedestal from time to time, and that's okay. It's about how do you return, how do you realign, and how do you get back to being in alignment with you. That's basically it, beautiful people. That is it. So I want you again to write down 1 way that you can cultivate more intimacy in your life as it relates to you, more passion and commitment. And then when you do that, come and visit me. Visit me on social media and let me know how it's feeling, how it's going. And if you need a reminder, you just rewind this particular episode, go back to our heartfelt moment of self-love, stillness, and meditation, and breathe into you and feel that love. And it might even help if you do that again and then write out those three things. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for another episode of Spiritually Fly. I am Faith Hunter, your host, your guide on this amazing Spiritually Fly journey. Thank you so much and have a magnificent day. Ciao.